There we go. I will officially call the Common Council and the Planning Commission joint meeting to order. Is the meeting been properly posted and open taken?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a presentation of the proposed plan amendments by the consultant and city staff for the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, regional mixed use to plan mixed use category.
Good evening.
Jackie?
Good evening. Before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the city's adopted comprehensive plan. The applicant is requesting a change for the designation for the parcel at 1616 Hobbs Drive. It's currently recommended for regional mixed use, and they're requesting to have that changed to planned mixed use. The current category, regional mixed use, is intended to enable a mix of commercial uses. So kind of analogous to your regional business zoning district. So it would, the regional mixed use category would enable uses such as indoor retail, commercial services, office, and similar uses. But it does not allow for multifamily residential. And that's the reason that the applicant is requesting a change in the plan. The planned mixed use category that they are requesting would enable a range of different types of uses, including multifamily residential, light industrial, parks and recreation, community facilities, office, retail, and related service land uses. So that's kind of a broader category that would enable a wider range of uses. In either instance, the property would most likely need to be rezoned definitely to enable multifamily, but that some of those other uses as well may involve rezoning. This property is a vacant parcel kind of at the edge of the city's business park. It kind of sits between 2 existing office uses right now. Currently the property is zoned manufacturing light, or ML. So we're not talking specifically about zoning this evening, but I just wanted to emphasize that it's a zone manufacturing light that would not allow for multifamily. And so in order to do multifamily at the site, they would need to go through this process this evening to do a comprehensive plan amendment and then subsequently rezone to a zoning district that would enable multifamily. So there's quite a bit of steps procedurally in order to make this project, a potential project here, happen for multifamily. And so should the bodies agree to amend the plan this evening, that would allow them to then begin the rezoning process, which would likely be a planned infill development, but they could also request a standard zoning district that would allow for multifamily as well. Last thing I want to mention is that changing the future land use designation in the comprehensive plan, so what we're here to do tonight, is completely a policy decision by the Plan Commission and the council. So it's completely up to you as to whether you think this is an appropriate use in this location. This is not like a this is not like a conditional use permit where if it meets all the criteria, the city has to approve it. This is completely a policy choice by the city. So there are definitely pros and cons to enabling multifamily in this location. One advantage would be that it would promote a tax base and good use of the property in this location. A counterpoint might be to consider the fact that this is right near the city's business park, and so residents here may be subject to. I understand there's like a stamping business in the area, unusual sights and smells from time to time that are natural and what we would expect from our business park, but might not be always suitable for residents. So that's just something to consider in this location. We have made the applicant aware of that. But I think given the range of uses in this part of the city, certainly multifamily could work in this location as well. Relatedly, the comprehensive plan was last updated in December of 2020. And so our future land use map only shows the boundary at that time, the city's municipal boundary that was current at that time, and so through this process, staff is recommending that we just update that later on our maps to show the current city boundaries. So that's not a policy change, it's more just an update to reflect current conditions. So I know I threw a lot at you, and sometimes the difference between zoning and the comprehensive plan is a little difficult to understand, so I'm very happy to answer any questions you all may have either now or following the public hearing.
Any initial questions from the council or commission members for the March 21st memo from Jack, which is shared here this evening?
Matt, you talked about noises in the area. Do you have any metrics in terms of what would be acceptable decibel levels within residential building placed within such close proximity?
We don't usually have standards of that nature. The best thing that we have is city's zoning ordinance has performance standards that establishes maximum decibel levels for every type of land use that do apply to your business park now. But we don't have a standard threshold for what would be acceptable for residential.
So that's something that we would need to develop if we wanted to set some sort of standard, because this would be an outlier where there would be a residential building placed directly in the middle of the industrial complex.
That would be one way to work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions or comments? What?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does, I think, open some thoughts with regard to one of the operations that's currently ongoing in the business park. The forge back there, the stamping forge. As Jackie pointed out, our code currently requires noise, vibration, and I think smell to be retained within the zoning area. How might that affect, should the council choose to approve this, how might that affect something like multifamily?
At this time, there's really nothing, right now, the uses in the business park need to follow the city zoning ordinance pertaining to noise, vibration, and odor. So that would be the same as it would be if we did approve multifamily in this location. It would still be required to meet those standards, but the fact that multifamily is there wouldn't change the rules that we currently have or change the rules that apply to the business park.
So initially, I'm for this idea. I like the idea of proximity for people that would potentially choose to live nearby if they happen to work in that location. However, I don't want to put any undue burden on all of our businesses that are conducting business and have been established and conducted business for quite a while. In this particular case, I find it appropriate that if we're going to allow a building of this nature to be put in, that we should have something in place regarding soundproofing for any residential units. And that should be something that would be built into the plan for the actual construction of the building, as well as air quality within the building should be the responsibility of the building owner, not the unit residents. I'm not looking to have something like this come back to the city as a problem. I want to establish this from the ground. If we're looking to do this at the beginning, we can do it, but we should do it smart. There might be some components that need to be developed within the city in order to make sure that everything is in line.
Any other thoughts or questions at this time before we open the public hearing? If not, then we'll move on to item number 3, which is actually opening up the public hearing regarding the proposed plan amendments. 3.1, statements, questions from the public, including submitted written comments. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. All I would ask is that you state your name and address for the record.
My name is Paul Van Hinkle. I'm with Cardinal Engineering in Wisconsin, and I'm the engineer and surveyor for Toronto Builders, who are the proposed developers of the project. And if you're familiar with Toronto, and we've talked to them before, they're currently building 2 apartment buildings over off Borg, across from the Piggly Wiggly, high-end type apartments with underground parking and a lot of amenities. So when they looked around the area, and they probably do 1,500 so units within the Elkhorn, East Troy, Whitewater, Beloit area now. There's a demand for this type of apartment facilities in the city of Delavan. So they looked around and although this is in what somebody would call the commercial industrial park, it's kind of on the fringe. The site, on one side is the health clinic and a dentist and an attorney on the other side. So it's not what you'd see as typical commercial activity or even industrial. There's also a major park facility which is right down the street there. And these are high-end apartments. They're well-built, well-constructed. They are well-insulated and they have underground parking. So the typical clients are working type people that in and out, they don't spend a lot of time during the day. There's a pool facility and there's a workout facility attached to this, but you're not looking at your typical area where they need a lot of playground equipment and other outside facilities. Believe it or not, most of their facilities are located near the interstate. It helps with the marketing standpoint. It helps with the access point, because a lot of these people who live in apartments are typically job commuters. Sometimes they're new to the area. Sometimes they have an established residence. Sometimes they're existing residents that can't afford, or living with their parents, or can't afford something like a single family house yet. So they locate this, and being close to the interstate access is typically a plus for their apartments, and they like those locations. And as you drive up and down 43, you'll see a lot of their buildings. So there's some right off the interstate at Beloit. There's some we're currently working on in Elkhorn and Wanago. And there's a big facility at 120 and 43 in East Troy. So it's a great location. They're excited about their existing project in the city of Delavan. They're looking to expand that. They'll have the management facilities available. Although this is in the industrial type commercial site, we think it's more multi-family mixed use. Currently they're planning a small golf simulator project on the site. So there'll be both commercial and residential facilities located on the site. That's why the mixed use was the category that we looked at. The owner, we've met with the industrial park committee or the commercial park committee. We got a favorable response, at least that's how we interpreted that. And we met with staff that's been working with us over the last 6 months on this project. And we think we worked out any of the conditions or some of the issues they had. So again, they're excited to expand their operations in Delavan and look forward to constructing something on this site.
Thank you. Any questions from the council or commissioners for the petitioner?
So previously I mentioned soundproofing
Yeah.
and quality there. This isn't something that I'm bringing up because we expect there to be problems, but we have an understanding and a history of having already dealt with some of these problems in the past. We have good actors in terms of our business community. So I don't want to say that that's going to be an upcoming problem. That being said, they were there first. And while we have a couple of businesses that are nearby that are favorable right now, that could change. I also want to make sure that you understand, we aren't going to be wanting to revisit this problem if the residents that happen to move in start to encounter problems. That's my only concern. I want to make sure that the onus on solving these problems is within Toronto.
Yeah, and they understand that. They're currently in the site in East Troy is located across the street from a major panel making equipment operation. They're in the industrial park in East Troy. They're gonna go behind the high-end commercial area in Wanago, and they're right across the street from the big industrial Hormel and Beloit, so, they understand that most of the time when you take a noise meter out at the sites that in those locations, and we expect at this location, the largest noise generator is the highway 43, which is an asset to their project. They think the downside of a little bit of noise versus the exposure they get, with the traffic. And these are, again, high-end buildings are very attractive, so they like to be seen. So and they looked around, and again, this is between the health facility there and an attorney and dentist, so it's more typical mixed use. You'll see a lot of those in mixed use residential and commercial areas, so they do a lot of these projects, and they really like the site, and they like Delavan, so it seemed like a good fit.
Yes,
Jack, just, again, to point out, there is a large hammer mill not very far from this.
Yes,
It is noisy.
yeah, they understand that. There's some, especially the ones we're looking at, there's some large facilities right across the street from them. And they understand that. So again, we're not looking at their typical, tenants are, 2 to 3 years. So we're not looking at long-term people that, these are people that looking for a lot of things besides, setting up here for 20 years. Although some of them have been there a long time, but people that are more concerned with access and availability of some of the facilities like the restaurants and the dry cleaners and things like that. So again, I think we're up around 1,500 units now, and they're on the books. There's somewhere around 3,000, 4,000 units planned in the future for them in the 3 or 4 county area around here. So, well, they started small. This is a pretty big operation, and they're all local. So they have their office right off 40. Their office is right off 43 and Bowers Center in Elkhorn. So,
Thank you.
Question is, what is the approximate rent there?
they go from 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 bedrooms. And I don't, Tommy, what's the average?
Probably 1,200 to 2,400.
$1,200 to $4,400.
1,200 to 2,400.
Yeah, 1,200 to 2,400.
A month?
I'd say 4,400.
Yeah.
No, sorry about that. $1,200 to $2,400 per month.
Yeah, that's definitely high end. We just don't want it to be another Bergamot Brass.
And and some people have some issues with apartment complexes, but we welcome anybody to drive up to East Troy or to Whitewater or to Beloit, and if you want to see the facilities, we'll make arrangements for you to even get inside. Some of them, are currently all full. We have a long waiting list. And there's starting to be a waiting list on the facility they're building here in Delavan that just got started here a couple months ago. So.
okay, thank you. No other questions or comments for the
All right, thank you.
petitioners? Then thank you. And at this time, I don't know if there's any other, people from the audience who wishes to speak one way or another for this issue. You're welcome to speak at this time if you wish. Not, I would close the public hearing then and move on to item number 4, which is a response to the public hearing questions by the consultant and city staff, and also item number 5, discussion of the proposed plan amendments by the planning commission and the common council. If there's any other thoughts, I know we had some good points that were brought up both before the public hearing and during. There's nothing further, then I would move on to item number 6, which is the actual consider the resolution recommending the plan amendments to the common council per the planning commission.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution recommending amendments to comprehensive plans future land use map 5, which involves changing the future land use category for the subject property to planned mixed use and updating the municipal boundary as depicted in Exhibit A.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, and all those in favor of the motion of the planning commission signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 7 then is adjournment for the planning commission. I entertain a motion.
So move.
A
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment of the planning commission signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Thank you, everyone, from the planning commission. Item number 8 is consider ordinance adopting the plan amendment from the common council. Is there any motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance amending the city's comprehensive plan's future land use map, map 5, which involves changing the future land use category from subject property to planned mixed use and updating the municipal boundary as depicted in Exhibit A pursuant to section 66.1001 subset 4, subset C, Wisconsin statute.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 9 is adjournment of this portion of the common council. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you again to our planning commission members for joining us.